the absolutely amazing Raven Dixon-Biggs.
It was to drown out the way that I feel, to drown out the rapes, the robberies, the failed friendships, the screw-ups, the letdowns, the police failings. It's very much overwhelming. I just knew I was going to get robbed. The system is broken. People in positions of power do not have empathy. It makes it really sad to think that I had friends that did that. Do you know what I mean? So I can't lie and say that isn't shit.
Lately, I've been thinking about life and its meaning.
Hi, everybody. We are back here again with another episode of Find Your Greatness, and I am joined with the absolutely amazing Raven Dixon-Biggs, pageant queen, Miss England finalist, done many great achievements. Do you want to just give him an introduction to yourself?
I'm Raven, and I'm a part-time model, beauty queen, community advocate, and community volunteer. I'm very much, I would say that I'm as close to a humanitarian as I physically get, because I just care so much about the world and I believe in making a difference. So I think that's what a lot of people know me for as well. And losing. I'm a great loser. I'm great at coming second and third.
But you still made the podium.
Yeah.
So that's an achievement in and of itself. And also, I guess in life, failure teaches us so much about our own strength and what we were capable of.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you come second and third, like over 7 times, you've got to just learn to deal with it and just accept that, you're just gonna be overlooked, unfortunately, because there's so much politics that remains in society. So there's no point sitting there thinking it doesn't happen within the pageant community as well. Obviously things have got better, but 10 years ago, when I first started doing pageants, you'd be lucky if you got a makeup artist that had your foundation shade. So
Yeah, that's always a thing, because I used to do a bit of photography, videography, that kind of thing. And the makeup artist back then, when I was doing it, so it was about 2010, um, like you say, it was always a challenge for some of the darker tones to get that. So I want to start at the very beginning of your story because um, I am aware you have a son now, and you posted the other day. You said, "Primary school is what defines your child. Primary school is what really and truly grounds your kid and creates the character they're going to be." So, based on that statement, I wanted to explore in your early childhood, what kind of defining lessons do you feel you had that defined who you are today?
I just feel that my parents did everything that they could to give me the best opportunities. They were working class, they weren't, millionaires, but they still gave me an opportunity in primary school to go to a private school for like 3 years. And I think that was defining within itself because of the caliber of students I was like mingling with, the backgrounds that a lot of these people came from. And also, like, I was in year 3 learning French. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I went to a different primary school, and it was much bigger classrooms. I went from being in a room of like, I don't know, 12 to like a room of like 28 and 30. And I remember being in primary school, and there was another black girl in my class, and in the whole of year 6, there wasn't many black kids. And I remember my mom being sent head teacher's letters for my black friend, but them sending it to my mom because they think that that's me. And for me, I'll never really forget that, because it just made me feel like, okay, well, I have been at this school for a good 2.5 years. You still can't tell the difference between me and another black girl. So I think for me, from a very young age, I knew that if you were black, you were different. And that just made me think, well, I don't know. I don't want to feel different. I want to just fit in. I want to feel included. I shouldn't feel like an outcast when no one else is. So why I think primary school is so important is I don't want my son to feel like an outcast ever. I don't want to put him in a school in an area that isn't multicultural. I don't want him to ever feel like he's not good enough because of his skin color, and to ever feel like he's just the same as someone else because hypothetically my son's mixed race. Like, let's say there's another mixed race boy and they just think that they're the same. Do you know what I mean? The thought of that, it makes me sick. And also my little sister, when she was in she's got to had only been in year 2, she got expelled from primary school. My parents fought back because my sister had behavioural issues that hadn't been diagnosed by the special educational needs system. So she was severely let down, and the teachers that were meant to be there to support her and have her back expelled her. And I remember mum and dad hiring a solicitor. They won. The head mistress got fired. They got their justice. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure my sister doesn't forget that experience of being out of school for that period of time and then having to go to a pupil referral unit. And, all of these are primary school experiences. So when I was 16, I decided to do my work experience at my sister's pupil referral unit to find out a little bit more. I've always, for some reason, kids love me as much as I'm not very But yeah, it was an eye-opening experience because I got to see the other side of things, and how teachers who do care behave towards children with additional needs. And yeah, I think that's kind of part of the reason why I care so much about the youth, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting the dynamic of being in a private school. I can imagine, because I've started working with young people this year, um, and it's quite rewarding. But what I have found working with young people is when there's groups of 10, 12, like you said, it's manageable. The
Mhm.
moment you get to 28, 30, it's like you have
Yeah.
all these little cliques. And so I circle back because it's like, how are we supposed to expect teachers to get good results out of
Mm,
classrooms of 30?
mm.
So it's good that you had that experience where you could contrast the smaller groups where you can really be focused on by one
Yeah.
teacher versus um, the 30.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to move on to a bit later on to kind of your late teens, early 20s, because I know you had an absolute lot happening in that period of your life.
Mhm.
And I guess that was another kind of pivotal moment for you.
Yeah.
If you'd like to kind of just share what you experienced in that time.
I would say that when I was 19, it was just, I don't know, it was just categorically insane year. Um, the year kind of started with my best friends at the time taking disgusting pictures of me on my period and sending them around the whole of Birmingham. Um, to the point, it was back in the time where we had, what was it called? BBM. So you can imagine, those images were absolutely everywhere. That was number one of the year that I was 19. And there wasn't a lot that I could do about it because, again, back then, they didn't have revenge porn laws back then. Otherwise, I would have got them done for that, even though, there wasn't necessarily a sexual element. But the fact that my own friends pulled down my trousers and took pictures of my period pad and sent that round the whole of Birmingham is really a bit evil, really. So
Yeah.
that within itself was, even talking about it, it makes it really sad to think that I had friends that did that. Do you know what I mean? So I can't lie and say that isn't shit.
Yeah.
Because, it was a tough pill to swallow. Um, so yeah, that was the start of being 19. I just turned 19 and that happened. And then at the same time I was already in a domestically abusive relationship. Um, sometimes we would just fight for no reason. It was very toxic, it was very unhealthy. And it ended in court with him being done for assault with intent. Just because one evening things just got completely out of hand, and I had to get this 14 stone man off my body because he was literally trying to poke my eyes out with his fingers and strangle me. So it was just, yeah, that was just rubbish. And I said to myself, I'd never put myself in that situation again, and I never have. I'd never. As soon as I hear an inch of like red flag, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
bye, block, delete, see you later. No, like I'm not interested at all. Unfortunately, that same year, I was walking through Birmingham City Centre, and I was attacked by 6 strangers who, I don't know, they just saw me and I don't know, they just wanted to rob me. So they started throwing stones at me, but wrapped in like, Quality Street wrappers.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm walking and I just knew I was going to get robbed. So I'm already on the phone to the police and I'm like, right, I'm on Bull Street now because I was going past the KFC on Corporation Street, and then I got round to Moore Street, and like I just knew that it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden I could just feel something behind me, something pulled me to the ground. They ripped out all my hair extensions because back then I'd had them like glued in. That left me with bald patches. I had a couple of scratches, but besides that, it was more like my pride that was hurt than being physically hurt. I was fortunate that because I was on the phone to the police, they arrived within like 2 minutes. And the only reason why the ringleader of the offenders was caught was because when the police released the CCTV, a social worker had recognised her, and she was 7 months pregnant when she decided to rob me. So, this is the calibre of person that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That being brought up in this world, how can you be 7 months pregnant and robbing people? It's insane. Also that same year, I was attacked by 5 girls in Gatecrasher. I knew all 5 of the girls, and till this very day, and I hope they all watch this podcast, they will get their karma. Their karma will come, because I was attacked for just being someone's friend. I was attacked for existing. And again, it was another humiliating, demoralizing experience. And, fair enough, 6 girls, I only got a fat lip, but again, it really hurt my pride and my mental health. I would probably say that's everything for that year, but unfortunately, 2 years after that, when I was 21, my dad took his own life in our family home. Um, and, I unfortunately have those horrible images and memories of running out to the garden and, hugging his cold corpse. And, till this very day, I still have flashbacks to that. And I always think like, Dad, like, why were you so cold? Like, it's just so weird that he was so cold. And I think that, unfortunately, regardless of how much I try to stay positive, there are days and weeks where it's overwhelming, where I'm crippled with emotions, crippled by thoughts. This week alone, I feel completely hopeless. But I find that if I commit to my plans and I'm being busy and I'm achieving and I'm trying, then mentally I feel like I'm doing okay. I just feel like when things aren't busy and I'm not inundated with work, or that I'm just failing at life and nothing is going my way. But the reality is, the best that you can do is try.
Definitely agree with that. And I also say, before I circle back to some of the things you said, this idea of failing at life, I always find it fascinating because, I mean, even myself, I've had moments like that. But then when I take a moment back and think, what is the root of my expectations of myself? It's not my expectations of myself. It's everyone, what I believe society's expectations are.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you look at it that way, you realize, and you look at your achievements and the things you've done, you look and you're like, actually, maybe I'm not failing at life. I'm on my own timeline, and I have this, and this to show for my time in this world. I have given this, and this value to other people. So yeah, I always find that fascinating, the whole idea of failing at life. But from what I can see, you're doing good for yourself. So just keep it up. But I did want to circle back to Um, did those experiences with so-called friends, did that break your trust in people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, till this very day, I do not trust people, like, at all. But the problem is I'm a major extrovert, so and I don't have anything to hide. So I feel like, yeah, I can sit here and say I've got a billion acquaintances, but I couldn't sit here and say I've got 5 friends because honestly, I don't know who my friends are. I don't know who actually cares for me. I don't know who isn't jealous of some of the things that I'm trying to do. I don't know who doesn't think I should be doing some of the things that I'm doing. You know, some people think like, who does she think she is running her own pageant and model coaching? How dare she? Like, why does she think she can do that? Um, so honestly, I would sit here and say that, yeah, there may be people in my life that say they care and maybe do go out of their way to show me that they care, but unfortunately, I just feel like I don't know, I just feel alone, really, and I think I always will until I'm ready to accept maybe proper support from people or break down my emotional barrier that just I'm very much if someone upsets me, whether you've been my friend for 10 years or 5 minutes, I can block and delete you and forget that you exist. And I'm not joking. Give me 48 hours and I've forgotten about that person. That's just how I work. But the reality is that isn't healthy. That's not good to just block people out. I've done it to my own mom. I've done it to really close mates. I just forget about them and I won't speak to them for a good month, maybe even 2 months, maybe even 3 months, because I'm just in my emotional black hole of no one cares, no one supports me, no one loves me, no one's helping. And when I try to look at actions, because, actions do speak louder than words, I think, you know what? Yeah, I may get the odd text message here and there to check in and, because life's overwhelming for everyone. Everyone's got different commitments and different things that they have to do on a day-to-day basis. But for me personally, I don't know. I just don't think I'm ever really gonna have a proper real friend. I don't think I'd ever be able to trust a female friend properly ever again, to be quite honest. And really and truly, when I think about my past 7 or 8, 10 years of friendships, a lot of my friendships have been built off my own kindness and supporting others. Like, i.e., when I think back to, I don't know, being 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, all I did was like pay for my mates' taxis, pay for my mates' drinks. Like, I just really and truly got rinsed for quite a long time and I didn't really see that. And I think that and I know that if I'd surrounded myself with different people, then, financially, I'd definitely be in a different position because if I surrounded myself with friends that were interested in mortgages rather than the session, then my life would be different because I had a certain crowd that loved to party and, they weren't into pageants and I don't know, going to fancy events and doing charity walks with me. But I'm an extrovert, so I just feel that, okay, well, you're being nice, I'm nice, it is what it is. But the reality is I've just been used really, like just had
Mm.
my kindness just taken for granted. Things that I've done for people is uncanny. And if I even tried to ask people for the same amount back, I wouldn't even get 10%. So I don't know. When I sit here today and I think, do I have any friends? The reality is, no, I don't really think I do.
Mm. I guess that's a difficult place to be. I think we all need community, we all need people. So I hope you're able to, with work, time, find the right people. Because I always believe in find your tribe.
Mm,
And sometimes our tribe isn't always in our immediate vicinity.
mm,
Our tribe isn't always the people we grew up around.
mhm,
Um, and sometimes in life, as you grow and you gain new experiences, end up in new circles, you realize who your tribe is. And sometimes
mhm.
it just takes time. So yeah, I hope you're able to find your tribe, people who really root for you, champion you,
Mm,
the way you champion others.
yeah, definitely don't have that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Like, I really would. Like a whole girl band that's like Team Raven.
Yeah. I don't know why you saying Team Raven just made me think, that's so Raven.
That's so Raven. It's the future. I can
You probably
see.
had that your whole
Yeah,
childhood.
my whole life.
Wow. You did share quite a lot there. And you were talking about the whole session, having sessions, partying.
Mhm.
But obviously around that time, you also were struggling with mental health.
Mhm.
So you would describe yourself as an extrovert, and sometimes people might see your extroversion, the fact you're partying, and think, oh no, she's okay.
Mhm.
Do you think the whole partying was an escape for you? Was it a way to mask what you were actually going through, what you were feeling?
Yeah, because my life was literally for a good like period of time. It was like Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. On the weekends, I'd fit in like any pageant stuff, any modeling stuff. And then as soon as all of that was done with, that is it. I'm getting a bottle of Prosecco or a litre and a half of vodka with my friends, and we are getting hammered. And it was to drown out the way that I feel, to drown out the rapes, the robberies, the failed friendships, the screw ups, the letdowns, the police failings, because West Midlands police have been an absolute joke. I mean, I've got 17 crime reference numbers that I've been a victim of since 2011. So I don't know. I think that kind of says it
Yeah.
all. Yeah, it's very much overwhelming. That's like, I feel like overwhelming is like my word of life. I'm just constantly overwhelmed.
So I guess a lot of that stemmed from your attacks, and of course, sorry for your loss for your father, and a lot would have stemmed from that as well.
Mm.
Understand you were diagnosed with PTSD at a certain point. Was that after your father's death?
No, that was before, but I've recently been diagnosed with complex PTSD. The mental health team advised me that I'm in a permanent state of hypervigilance,
Mm.
which basically means I just can't switch off, which is pretty much me. Like, I just have this constant need to be busy and be productive when really and truly I probably should just relax. I probably should just maybe go to sleep for an hour or two, but I just feel that if I'm not doing something to better my life, better, mine and Remington's situation, to try and make everything pretty much perfect, then I'm not doing enough. Then I am a failure if I'm not being productive for every hour that I'm not with him. And, that may not be healthy, but it's what's getting me through right now.
Yeah. So your original PTSD diagnosis, do you feel having that diagnosis helped you navigate what you were experiencing, what you were going through better?
Um, I'd say maybe a little bit, but no, I would say that unfortunately, from a young age, GPs have just tried to force drugs down my throat, and I've always been very skeptical of taking drugs, because my thing has always been that once you take the drugs, there's potentially no going back. Um, the damage that can be caused by any drug that you're taking every single day, it can't be healthy. So for years and years and years, I've always refused antidepressants despite being offered them countless times. I've even been given Zopiclone to like help me sleep. And the GP didn't tell me that I couldn't take it every day. And I took it every day for like 7 days. And by the seventh day, I was having like heart palpitations, I was sweating. But again, it's just that could have went a completely different way. But because I have an NHS nurse for a mom, she was the best person for me to obviously confide in about how I'm feeling and the health side of things. But the big thing is GPs just want to push drugs at people that have mental health. So I don't feel that having a diagnosis helped at all. I think it maybe helped GPs to see, oh, what should I prescribe for this patient, rather than, okay, what can we do to fix this patient? What can we do to alleviate the trauma that this patient suffers on an everyday basis? I mean, even till this very day, I'm 2.5 years a mom now. My son will be 3 in December, and I'm still without the mental health support that I had prior to pregnancy. Because as soon as I told the NHS that I was pregnant, they took away my speaking therapy because of the emotional implications that could have on the fetus. But why hasn't it been reinstated? Why have I made over 70 complaints to the NHS in the past 2.5 years? Why have I recently, after getting a diagnosis of complex PTSD, had to complain to the single point of referral team, Sandwell Healthy Minds, to actually get a proper diagnosis and actually see a psychologist again? That is, part of the reason why people are dying, why people just give up with the system and the service, why the fight that people have inside of them when they first wake up in the morning is drained out of them by the end of the day, because the system is broken and people in positions of power do not have empathy for the jobs that they do. And my example is perfect of that. Why am I speaking to a mental health nurse that thinks sending me 8 leaflets is going to help with my mental health? Do you think that's going to help with 12 years of mental health history? I don't believe a leaflet and a card that says to ring the crisis team, who, by the way, are absolutely useless, are
Mm.
absolutely horrific, is going to help me. No, I need intensive therapy. I've looked into EDMR, which is like a therapy that can basically make trauma disappear, if that makes sense. And that's definitely something that I need. There's so much trauma in my brain that lives, and the only way for me to suppress it is to make achievements. And if I'm not achieving, then honestly, I just feel like I'm failing.
Yeah. Um, I want to circle back because I do know you want to touch on male mental health, especially
Mhm.
considering what your father experienced. What the challenges you think men have in terms of mental health?
The first things first is the fact that you're not meant to talk about how you feel. Like, men for such a long time have been conditioned to suck it up and pretend that everything's fine, to be providers, to be fathers, to be husbands, to, really and truly, men carry as much as women physically look after the house. Most of the time, men carry the financial burden. And I'm not saying all, because there's a lot of 50-50 marriages now, but um, a lot of the time, it does fall down to the man to financially provide for a family, and that within itself is overwhelming. And I know I'm probably rinsing the word overwhelming, but I don't know. I just don't feel that men have a proper escape. They don't have proper support systems, because I feel like lads will just be like, "Oh, mate, you'll be fine. Like, you're all right. It's just a bird. Don't worry about it. Oh, mate, it's just a job." Do you know what I mean? Like, just
Mm.
get over it. Just have a pint. Like, it's fine. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of men are like. I'm not saying all, but a lot of men are like that. They just think, "Oh, just go down the pub. We'll sort it out." And I think that's just sad, because as women, we are naturally so open. A lot of women can't hide their feelings. If we're feeling or thinking something, you're gonna know about it. We're gonna let it rip. We may sometimes regret what we say, but we let it out. We let you know our feelings, and men don't do that. They suppress it. And I feel like that within itself is what's killing a lot of men nowadays, and social media and girlfriends, and thinking that they need to be earning 50 grand a year and take their girlfriend to Dubai. And do you know what I mean? There's all these unrealistic expectations that social media has given to the younger generation that has actually made some women, I'm not saying all, but some women actually believe like the sun shines out of their arsehole, and that men are actually beneath them. And can you imagine being a man, being with a girl, and her making you feel absolutely worthless and literally laughing in your face? Because I've known girls that have done that. I know girls that have done some really horrible things to men, cheated on them, really broke their hearts, messed with their mental health, made them suicidal, and not give a crap after, just like kind of like moved on to the next man. And most of the time people would perceive that it's men that can do that. It's men that can just like switch off and move on. But women, we're fabulous at doing that too. We can cheat too. We can lie as well. And I think sometimes society forgets that. Like, yes, women are delicate little flowers, and violence should end against women everywhere. That's a fact. But the reality is, we can fuck with people's heads too, and we can hurt people too, and we hurt men. And sometimes we don't apologize for that. And that within itself can kill a man. That is why statistically, is it 77% of suicides that take place in the United Kingdom now are down to males between the age of 17 and 44? That is like what the statistics say for suicide here in the UK. And I think that's extremely, extremely heartbreaking. I still don't feel that there is enough out there for men. There's a lot of, men's men's mental health charity, but I don't think there's a lot of them. There's a lot more help out there for women. I think as a woman, we now have social media as well. I see a lot of mums confiding in Instagram and their Instagram following about, be it baby loss, depression, mental health, marriage problems. A lot of women are making money off being mommy bloggers and just sharing their life and sharing what they feel. There's not a lot of men doing that because men don't feel they have a voice to do that. And I feel that we still need to do more to find a platform that supports men like really well. I don't know. Would you disagree with that? I don't know. Do you think there's lots of mental health resources for you guys, or?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with a lot of things in terms of I think I've said previously on a different show, from a very young age we're told boys don't cry.
Mm,
Why, get over it, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? From a young age. And so by the time you hit adulthood, it's like, of course you can't open up because it's been instilled into you every time you felt something. Like, get up, be a man,
yeah.
don't cry, or whatever it might be. And so we have this tendency to bottle things in. I think if I take myself for an example, I wouldn't say I particularly bottle things in, but I'd say it takes me a while to recognize what I'm actually feeling.
Mhm.
So if my partner, for example, thinks something's up, it might not register to me immediately, like, what is it that's out of whack? But I think perhaps I'm speculating, but perhaps as women, because when you're younger, you are going through your emotions. What are you feeling? How are you feeling? You are expressing these things. You are more in touch with what you're feeling in the moment. Whereas for men, sometimes we don't really know what we're feeling because we haven't done those exercises when we were younger, going through what am I feeling, how am I feeling. So yeah. So for me, for take me personally, I do try to express myself when I can, but it's not always immediately obvious to me what it is that I'm needing to express.
Yeah.
And then there's the other notion about crying as well. I remember maybe, what we are we now, 2023. So it's maybe 2021. There was a period where I was like, I really need a cry. I was just overwhelmed with so much, and I was like, I could really do with the cry. And I haven't cried in years. I think the things that used to set me off um are like seeing, like, I've cried at my sister's graduation, seeing people I care about
Doing well.
doing well or overcoming challenges, like that's the kind of thing that will kind of set me off.
That's a nice reason to cry though.
Yeah. But I was like, I really could do with a cry. I could do with a cry because I just had all this stuff just pent up. And I remember looking into kind of chakras, and it was kind of like my throat chakra and my heart chakra that were kind of blocked.
Yeah.
But knowing I needed to have a release, there was no way of going, okay, I need to cry. Oh, okay, I've got it out of my system.
Yeah.
It's like I know I need some sort of release, but and so I think for men finding ways to release, I think that's why Some men might just throw themselves into the gym 24/7, take up boxing, whatever it might be, just to find ways to express. I think for men, as long as you find ways to express, but at the same time, identify what it is. The important part is identifying what it is you're feeling. I think that's the hard part. That we kind of struggle with. But I guess with you having a son, that might um shape a lot of how you see mental health as well, because male mental health, because obviously you're raising a future man.
Yeah. A future empath, I hope.
But
To the
yeah,
point
so
where I've banned myself from saying, Remington, don't cry about that. Like,
yeah,
literally, I'm banned from saying that. I had to
yeah,
ban myself because there was this one day where he was crying and then he was like holding it in. I was like, no, cry, let it
yeah,
out.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, cry. Like,
yeah.
if you need to cry, just cry. Don't suppress it. Because if
But
you do that
then
now,
yeah,
like,
but then the other side of that is men that might grow up and be more expressive, more
emotional.
emotional,
Mm.
that's kind of scorned as well. It's like,
Yeah, you're not masculine enough,
yeah,
blah, blah.
and that sometimes they might even find um struggle finding love. So to take a trivial example, I don't know if you watched Love is Blind. Okay, it's a show on Netflix.
Oh, I've seen it advertised. I haven't
Okay.
watched it, no.
It's one of my guilty pleasures. But
You like
there's
dating
a
shows, yeah.
say again.
You like dating shows,
I don't
yeah.
know. You know what it is? I like observing the dynamics of
Yeah,
people
people.
interacting. Yeah. But there's a man on there called Marshall, and he was, as I described, that emotional guy, and the woman he ended up with on the show just literally just spat him out, just chewed him up and spat him out. So it's like sometimes when you are that emotional man, society doesn't know how to deal with you as
Mm,
well. So it's this catch-22 where
mm,
where's the balance where you are kind of you do hold some of the typical masculine features, but at the same time have that sensitive side,
mm.
where you are able to express yourself and are able to turn to people to support you. And so I think that's part of the issue, is just men and expressing themselves.
Yeah, it's just got to be taught from a young age. Like, teachers need to be, mental health needs to be like part of the curriculum
Yeah.
because it needs to be something that everyone, regardless of gender or age, needs to be aware of. Like, are you feeling hopeless? Have you stopped going to the gym? Are you eating more? Are you eating less? Are they eating more? Are they eating less? Are they going to work? Are they motivated? Are they as happy as they used to be? Look at their Facebook pictures. Look in their eyes. Their eyes say everything. Someone can be smiling, but in their eyes they can be so so sad. And I've seen it myself. I've done it myself. I look at some pictures of myself and I think, God, your eyes look so sad, but you look so happy. But I think we just have to take time with people. And I feel that with men, they just need all the support now. Like, from birth, you need to be told that it's okay to have emotions, that it's okay to have feelings, that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to be sad about something. It's okay to, I don't know, lose a football match and be disappointed and cry about that because, every time I've lost, I can't say I've cried every time, but there has been times where I've just cried, and that's normal for us as women, and it should be normal for men too. I think it's messed up that it isn't, and that's the God's honest truth. I just think, I don't know. I'd just love to do more, but what can we do? The system is just broken.
So in terms of the system being broken, what do you think needs to change?
Mental health services need more funding, and just a better procedure in way that they're doing things. From my own experience, as I said earlier, I'm 2.5 years a mom now. I suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder, well, complex post-traumatic stress disorder and postnatal depression. And I'm still without the therapy that I should have had 2.5 years ago, that I should have still been having whilst I was pregnant. Because I highly doubt that me going and speaking to someone about my trauma would have killed my son. I went through a lot of stress throughout my pregnancy, and he survived all of that. So I think it would have been better for me to have kept having my talking therapy and still seeing the psychologist that I was seeing. I think that I wouldn't be on antidepressants now, because I started taking antidepressants when my son was born because I had no choice, because I felt mentally all over the place and unable to function, and that is because of the NHS's failings. So, I'm on antidepressants now because of the NHS's failings. So, what needs to happen? The system from the bottom up needs to be rebuilt. You shouldn't, wherever you stop with your mental health journey, you should be able to pick back up where you left off, especially if the NHS has stopped something that you were receiving, i.e., my trauma therapy. Why has it not been reinstated? Why have I, on bad days, still got to be my own mental health advocate because the system thinks that I need 8 leaflets instead of speaking therapy? The system thinks I need 4 months of emotional Zoom meetings rather than just a bit of EDMR therapy to wipe the trauma out of my brain. So it's a deep-rooted problem, but unfortunately, it starts with the government and them sitting down and thinking, "Okay, right, let's look at our suicide rates. Let's look at the number of young people under the age of 21 that say they've got anxiety now and mental health." Do you get what I mean? I'm think, how can a government not care about that? Because these are the people that are being raised in this world. These are the people that are gonna be our leaders, our MPs, our councillors, our PMs, and they need to be set up on a good path emotionally. Without being emotionally stable and and secure within yourself, you're not going to get very far in life, unfortunately, and that is just the truth. So I just think that as a government, they need to put a mental health plan in action to reduce waiting lists, to make sure that people are getting the right support when they need it, that people have access to mental health services 24 hours a day. It's all well and good saying, "Oh, we've got a advice line," but I've rung advice lines before and just felt like, why am I on the phone? Because the other person at the end of the phone just doesn't understand, and it just makes your whole experience awkward. Like, I remember I've rung Samaritans before and I'm like, I feel like this, like, da, da, da. And they're like, "Okay, so what's made you feel like that?" Like everything always has to be a trigger. My day is my trigger. I've woke up today and that's my trigger, because not everything is a trigger. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, what could be a trigger to you is not a trigger to me. Example, I left my son's bag at home yesterday whilst taking him to nursery, and I had to walk back. And honestly, after that, I felt like having a mental breakdown because I was like, why did I forget his bag? And to most people, that was probably absolutely nothing. But to me, that ruined my day yesterday. And that was like part of the reason why I was overwhelmed yesterday. I was like, how could I do that? And now we're late for
Mm.
nursery and now my day's a mess. So I don't know. I just think that as a system, as a government, as doctors, nurses, as people that work for the NHS, we just need to provide a better service. And that, for me personally, it starts with a caring ear. It can take one person to listen to change your whole circumstance and your whole experience of a situation. I've dealt with that countless times within the NHS, where someone's not listening to me, this doctor's not listening, and then I speak to a different doctor and I get a referral straight to the place that it should have been sent in the first place. So, it's just, some people are empaths and some people aren't. And I feel that if you're not an empath, then you should not be in a position of power. You should not work for the NHS. You should not be a PM. You should not be a counsellor, because you do not care about human beings if you are not an empath. If you can't empathise with someone's struggle, if you can't empathise with someone's pain, loss, or situation, then you don't deserve to be in a position of power, in my opinion. And this is the reason why the system is broken, because the people in positions in power are not empaths and they don't care about people. They only care about themselves, money, and figures.
Yeah. my partner's expecting at the moment, and
Oh, we should. Oh, no way.
we. So,
Congratulations.
thanks.
She's like, how did you not say that? Why the hell? Oh,
But
wow.
we've had
Oh.
a bit of a roller coaster, and the times where we've had to be in the hospital, just what you say about empaths, like you can tell when someone truly cares about your outcomes versus when someone's just ticking some boxes. And it's like the issue we had, we realized later down the line, had we initially seen someone else, it might not have been picked up.
An issue, yeah.
It might not have been picked up, and we might have had a worse outcome. But because it was picked up when it was, because someone cared,
Mm,
like we're good, like the baby's good, mom's
yeah.
good. So when you have people that care, it leads to better outcomes all around.
Yeah.
Because if things went wrong, that would have been even more pressure on the NHS, pressure on us, pressure on everyone. So it's
Yeah.
like having people that care in these places, like you say, it makes a big difference. But I did want to ask you, because you mentioned a couple of times EDMR. Is
Yeah.
that the right letters?
Yeah.
Can you just, I know you said it's like removing the trauma. Can you elaborate on it a bit more? Because I do want to learn about it.
Not really. I can't really elaborate on it because I'd literally just go into my phone, I'd go on Google and I'd type in EDMR.
Okay, so
It's the only reason that I know anything about it
yeah.
is because I was gonna go on, what was that show that came out this year? And it got lots of offset complaints because they were eating like dog food.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, basically, I was going to go on that. Thank God I did not go on it. Yeah, it was a Channel 4 show.
Okay.
I would have had to live in a house for like 28 days and like do weird tasks to like, I don't
Wow.
know, win the power or something, whatever. But I didn't. But during that process, they sent me for a full private medical, which was absolutely fabulous, by the way, because I'm a full bit of health. I had a hearing check, everything. And the doctor there, we obviously spoke about my mental health. And she said, you know, you need to get on the waiting list for EDMR. She goes, it may be a year wait, but it'll be worth it in the end. And when I Googled it, like if you Google it, it literally like evaporates the trauma out of your brain, like through like lights and eye movements, you know, that's what EDMR pretty much is. And that's why I'm so desperate to have that. You know, if I could go private, I would. If I could afford to, I definitely wholeheartedly would. I'd probably be mental health free if I could go private.
I think that is part of the problem as well. Like my experience with NHS is, if your death is not imminent, they don't care. They are good at keeping people alive. I do give them that.
Yeah.
Like,
in hospital maybe, but I don't know about mental health services.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
mental health
Yeah.
services are good at keeping people alive. I
Yeah.
think, you know, the staff that work in hospitals, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think NHS mental health services are a complete failure.
Just a conveyor belt, but just giving leaflets out, like you said.
Yeah.
So I guess EDMR is something I need to research because it does sound really interesting and something I really want to learn more about.
Yeah.
But I do want to move on now to, how did you get into pageants?
It was after I had that kind of revenge porn experience with my friends. You know, obviously I was very stressed, I was overwhelmed, I was embarrassed, I was humiliated. And a couple of months before, for my 19th birthday, there was a Miss England stand in Gatecrasher, Birmingham. And I got scouted, and my two other friends, despite being beautiful too, they weren't scouted. And they told me that I couldn't do Miss Birmingham, that I'd never win, and that there's no point trying. And I didn't. But then a couple of months later, obviously they did what they did. And then I thought, you know what? There's no better time than ever to decide to do pageants. I've got rid of some really negative people in my life. Let's push some positivity into life. And that's how I got into pageants. I entered Miss West Midlands. God, know how many years ago? What, 9 years ago? Yeah, Miss West Midlands. And I came third in my first ever pageant at the Miss England head office. So it just kind of went from there. And the thirds and the second place is just never ending because, you know, I am Raven.
Well, I mean, you did get Miss Sandwell in District 2017.
Yeah, that was after 4 years of competing in an array of Miss England regional heats, from Miss Black Country, Miss Birmingham. I even competed in Miss Derby. I'm not from Derby, but I competed in Miss Derby. Like, I literally competed in everything you could think of that I could possibly compete in just to get to the Miss England finals. And it just wasn't all it was cracked up to be, purely because my expectation was that it would be like a giant sleepover party. Like, honestly, I really thought it would be like that.
Is it in Miss England finals?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it just wasn't like that. It's just straight competition mode, like
Yeah.
tits and teeth, hills, like girls in 7-inch heels at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just there like, oh, okay, this is the vibe.
But why is it like competing at that level though? To be competing Miss England, that's quite a big platform.
I mean, it was then. It's a lot smaller now because I don't really know why. I don't know why it's dropped off. I just think certain brands aren't marketing themselves correctly. I think that's the best way to put it. But competing at that level, I find it addictive. I've got to be honest. I absolutely love competing. I love being on stage. I love smashing appearances because 9 times out of 10, I am the publicity queen. Like, I've won publicity like 3 times for 3 different pageants because I smash appearances, because I just love getting out there in the community. And I think that it's important to actually wear our sashes and crowns in the community and make a difference, rather than just being in our pageant community where, it's all pretty much 9 times out of 10, it's middle class and above, people that have got money, come from wealth. Do you know what I mean? And all of us all in a beautiful function room, living our best lives. It's pageant land. And to me, that's why it's a land, because it's not necessarily real, is it? Do you know what I mean? So maybe I should have thought about that before I started doing pageants, because what I realised is that, and people have said it, it's just, you were just too real for Miss England, and in some sense you're just too real for pageants. I'm the current Miss Pageant Queen 2022/2023, and I was decrowned because I was dismissive of my system on social media. And
Your system being
Miss Pageant Queen,
okay.
yeah. And when you've worked so hard to get a crown, to have that then taken away from you, to then be humiliated on social media, to then have people try to tear you down on social media, um, and really just demoralize you and try to ruin your reputation, it makes you feel this small. And I feel like a dot this week. I feel very much hopeless, and I'm just trying to push through and put on a smiley face. But I'm very upset that I'm not going to be handing over my crown on Saturday. I'm very upset that we live in a world where you can't talk about your own lived experience without that being offensive to a brand. I had comments like, maybe in the future we should talk to our directors first about what we're going to post before we post. And I think, so I should have to go to my white director and say, I'm going to talk about my Black lived experience today. Is that okay with you? And give them an option to say no, because they'll be like, oh, no, you can't talk about colour and have a crown. That's a conflict of interest. And unfortunately, that's all I do. Like, I talk about the importance of colour. I talk about the importance of diversity. And when you've got a panel of white judges, they don't want to hear it, unfortunately. But I'm still going to talk about it because it needs to be said. And the reality is, we can't lie and say that Black women and brown women are not put on a platform the same way that white women have always been idolized on. And, that's part of the reason why I've had so many seconds and thirds place. But, who does everyone remember?
The one with the biggest personality.
Not the winner. That's all I've got to say. Not the winners.
Would you say I don't remember the exact competition in Florida. Would you say it was different in America?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so different in America. It's more, So I just think America's more diverse and it understands pageants a little bit more.
What was the pageant you were doing in America?
World's Perfect pageant.
Okay.
So it's the first time I'd ever done like an international final. Um, and honestly, I would call it, I know it sounds really bad, but I'd call it a pageant on crack. It was just so different. And I can't say, oh, that's down to race or anything like that. It was just full on straight competition to the point where girls wouldn't even like say hello. This one girl came up to me. She was like, "Did you get your wings for your swimwear?" Like, because I'd said somewhere in one of the finalist
Mm.
group chats that I wanted some angel wings for my swimwear. She just literally just come up to me like, no hello, nothing. Just, "Did you get your wings for your swimwear?" I was like, "Oh no." And she just walked off. Like, that is what it's like
So
in
everyone just
America.
focus.
It's just focused.
Yeah.
They don't even try to fake it. And in a way, I quite liked that because I only really made like 3 friends, like 3 international friends that I still have like on social media now. I would literally fly to Florida if I could and see them. Um, but yeah, I liked it because I made a really good friend. I made a really good mom friend there as well. And I was fortunate that I had them people. I think without them, it probably would have been a little bit more lonely. Um, but personally, I just love everything about pageantry and being on the stage. One day, I will get the big, massive, iconic win that will make the pageant community's eyes burn. The day will come.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Would you say there's anything in that case, like the British scene can learn from the American scene in terms of diversity or anything like that?
Um, I don't know. I would just say that since 2020, a lot of pageant directors, international and UK based pageants, just had a box to tick, didn't they? Unfortunately, we had one of the biggest civil rights movements that's happened in over, what, 70 years, that happened in 2020, with how many countries going all over the world and standing in unity with Black people. That, it inspired a lot of directors to say, look, I need to box tick now. Oh, I need a black one. Oh, I need a brown one. And then it's back to reality. We're back to, I don't know, all blonde winners or all brunette winners. I don't know. I just think it's just the world that we unfortunately
Mm.
live in. And
Just needs time and
yeah,
the right people getting
the
into those
right
places.
people. Yeah, I think we definitely need more Black women in pageants, but it's hard when you have such experiences of being overlooked and not getting placements that you deserve, or you've had a really catty experience. I mean, at a recent pageant, there was girls that didn't even like acknowledge me because they just saw me as a threat rather than a person. And to this very day, I find it like really, really sad because I just thought like, how can you be like that? But I suppose because I'm such a nice person, I can't
Mm.
understand how some people can be so nasty. So I don't know. You just gotta have thick skin in this world,
Yeah.
especially when you're Black.
Um, I'm just gonna quote you right now. We'll move on to so you say it's taken me 5 years to accept my skin condition, but making it into Vogue Italia online back in March made the world of difference to my confidence.
Mm,
You must always love the skin you are in.
mhm,
Um, so you've talked about representation as you were talking just then, and obviously, someone with vitiligo. I guess you've been diagnosed 5 years ago.
mm.
How does the representation impact you? Like, for example, there's Winnie Harlow, who also, I believe, has vitiligo. Just seeing people like her in the scene help the way
Ye
you feel?
Yeah, definitely, because, everyone absolutely adores Winnie Harlow. Like, who's got a bad thing to say about her? She is the vitiligo queen. She's a supermodel. She cares about the world. Do you know what I mean? It's just she's incredible. So when I look at someone like her, I think, well, you know what? She didn't start as Winnie Harlow, did she? She wasn't this big thing then. She was just a normal girl that was like the only girl in her class that had this skin condition, and she just learned to love it from an early age. And because of that love, she's now a supermodel. I mean, who cannot be inspired by that to a degree. I mean, I can't sit here and say that, oh, just because she's got vitiligo, I felt fine about mine, because there are still some parts of my body that I'm still like a bit like, oh, like especially like my legs and stuff, and my face, obviously, because it's my face, and I'm not used to not doing a full face of makeup on my face. So I would say that, yeah, representation is very important. And in the past 12 months, oh my God, the vitiligo things that I have seen have been uncanny, like unimaginable amounts of vitiligo, from lol dolls, Barbie dolls, vitiligo teddy bears, vitiligo advent calendars, like everything. Even like some books that I buy for my son, they have like vitiligo characters in, so that, even from the age of 2, he can learn about different skin conditions. And, I just think it's having awareness of it and people knowing what it is, rather than people looking at you. Because, I do get stares, especially when I'm rolling around with like no makeup on and stuff. People do stare like a lot. They're like, "Oof." Not like,
Mm,
I don't know what they're staring for, whether it's like, oh, I wonder what that is. Like, do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Because they don't know what it is. And there's still a lot of people that don't really know what it is. There are some people that thought that you could catch it if you touched someone that had it. So,
Mm.
um, you know, a couple of months ago, I did an appearance at a disability school in Harborne, and one of the tutors that was working there, she actually came up to me and started crying, because she was like, "It's just so beautiful to see you standing there with so much confidence with your vitiligo on show." And I grew up. She was like a 50-year-old Asian woman, and I can imagine that her growing up back in the 70s and 80s with brown skin, vitiligo, how she would have been treated would have been awful. So I think, yeah, that is a classic example of why representation is important.
So how did it impact you? Obviously, being in the beauty scene, beauty pageants, how did it impact you when you first kind of were noticing um, the changes in your body?
It was just like I was trying to find all ways to like get rid of it. I was like Googling all these things. I was like, is it a skin infection? Is it fungal? Will it go? And I think the reason why I do have a level of acceptance for it, because I know that it can come and go. And that's the thing. Like, I've seen it come and go on various parts of my body. So there's a part of me that thinks, okay, maybe this is temporary. Maybe it will all disappear eventually, because statistically, you have vitiligo in childhood. If you get it in adulthood, it is caused by extreme trauma, which obviously I have experienced in life, which would make sense. But a lot of people don't understand that it can come and go. And I am living proof that it does come and go. So I think the reason why I have the acceptance of it is because I have this faith that one day I won't have it in all the places it's in. In certain places, there is a major element of acceptance, and I wouldn't want them to go, because it's like, it's my skin, it's my vitiligo. But then there are other days where I'm not as confident and I'm not ready to take on the world as the vitiligo queen. So it makes it harder. So it's just all about finding the balance. I definitely think making it into Vogue Italia helped loads, like boost my confidence, because I was like, oh, okay, this is my first ever vitiligo inspired shoot, and it made it into Vogue Italia. Like, that helped a lot. I then went on to do like another vitiligo shoot and another vitiligo shoot. So I was like, you know what, I'm loving these vitiligo shoots now. So, on my face, I don't want it to go personally, even though you can't actually see it right now.
Mm.
But I think it's so cool when I do a photo shoot and I have the option to like say to the content person that's in charge and say, do you want the vitiligo out, or do you want it covered up? I just feel like it gives two completely different looks. And, I'm just one person. So
Yeah. Um, so over the past 10 years, maybe less, there's been a lot of movement around acceptance of who you are and stuff like that. Um, would you say like the media is doing a good job of kind of promoting diverse beauty standards? Obviously, could be different body shapes, it could be skin conditions, or do you think there needs to be more around that and kind of shifting beauty standards and understandings of what beauty standards are?
I think things have got loads better, like especially in the past. 2-3 years, I think, for plus size models, for vitiligo models, for petite, tall, for everyone. I feel that everyone has an opportunity to be a model now. I think one of like Nemesis models' top girls that's getting booked is a plus size vitiligo model. And, 10 years ago, you really couldn't say that. And now you see in most JD Sports websites, prettylittlething.com, Boohoo, anything like that, you will see someone that's got vitiligo modeling at least one look or two looks. And obviously that's done on purpose because brands want to be seen to be being more inclusive. And I think that's what a lot of brands are obviously focused on is brand representation. We need to be seen to be inclusive, or we're going to lose our customers. It's as simple as that. Um, Maybe there's more barriers that need to be broken. Yeah, definitely. But I think we've got a lot better than what things were like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you'd never see a plus size vitiligo model modeling for JD Sports. Now, that is the norm, and it should be because we're all people, regardless of what we look like, regardless of our differences. We're all humans.
But I think sometimes people like to kind of revert to the popular consensus. I think that's the what we really need to overcome is um just because something isn't in the mass
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's wrong or different or
Mm.
and that will kind of help shape the acceptance. But I know as can I describe you as a public figure? I think I can.
Oh, yeah.
With ma-
Technically,
with
I
the
do call
with the
myself one,
with
technically,
the
but I
with
find it a
the
bit cringe. Like,
but I mean the reason I say that is because you've had so much press and it's like almost like you're under a microscope at times. So it's like,
mm,
how does it feel being a public figure and having that kind of scrutiny on you?
um, to be honest, I feel like because I've been dealing with it for so long, it's just like normal to me now. Like, it's normal for me to get like, someone call me a nigger or a nignog in my inbox or someone call me a black bitch. Like, it's just
Mm.
normal. It's because I remember when I was 19 and I remember when I was 20 and I did an article saying I was competing in Miss England and people were trolling me then saying, Miss England, more like Miss Jamaica. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So for me, yeah, it can be hard. Because there are some articles that I am trying to get taken down, like i.e. there's one that the New York Post have up. And they literally asked me 3 questions. I gave them 3 answers and they've created a completely different story off the back of that. And, I've been quoted like £2,000 by solicitors to even get the process started to get that taken down. And, that within itself can be brand damaging. Unfortunate that, I know how to complain and I managed to get a couple of other news agencies to take down false news stories. But it has its positives and its negatives. Like, yeah, it's great because I have my own platform because of my own voice. And, off the back of all of this press, I've been able to create. I'm trying to build Raven's Angels. I want Raven's Angels not to just be a model coaching service. I want to be Raven's Angels promo. I want to be Raven's Angels beauty. I want to be Raven's Angels everything in everyone's face. So in the next 5 years, I want Raven's Angels to be absolutely everywhere, doing everything.
So elaborate what is Raven's Angels?
So Raven's Angels is like, I would say it's my baby because it's the empire that I'm trying to build. At present, I'm focusing on pageant and model coaching to just bring women into pageantry and allow them to really become their best selves. Because as much as I may not have an array of crowns to show for my journey, I have an array of an experience. I have an array of sass. I have a completely different level of catwalk to most people that compete in pageants, because a lot of people that compete in pageants, they're not models, they're just normal people. So they haven't had like the training that I've had or the opportunities that I've had at countless fashion shows to walk. And I've had choreographers say no, put your shoulders back, and do you know what I mean, all these tiny things. So I feel like that's why I'm really trying to market myself as like, a model coach, because it just makes it a little bit different. And pageantry is such a specific niche that not everyone's into that. There's a lot of women that will say, I'd never put my daughter in a pageant. I'd never put my son in a pageant because, there are many elements to it that are still quite pretentious and stuff. So for me, Ravens Angels is all about giving people their ultimate confidence and allowing them to build who they really are with my support. And, if that gets them a modelling agency or a beauty pageant crown, then that is just the bonus.
That's amazing. I think empowering people to kind of achieve
Their
what's in
goals.
them, what's within them. And there's so many ways of doing that, but I like your approach to doing that. And I hope Ravens Angels, as you say, is everything and it's everywhere. So in closing, I like to ask the question, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, wow. I would say get better friends. Get away from those friends. That is what I'd say. Go and be around people that love you, that do think you're amazing, that do think you're beautiful, that do think you have the opportunity to win a crown. Be around people that truly love you for you, Raven.
Yeah.
That is what I'd say to my younger self. Get better friends.
People are everything. Like
They're
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And I'm very fortunate that I've always had my own path. So regardless of what anyone around me is doing, I could be around like 4 sessions. I'm still going to get up and go to work. See you later.
Yeah.
So it's one of them.
So to end on a lighter note, what was it like being on Meet the Parents?
Oh my God. It was an amazing experience because I've got to be honest, if you haven't been on a TV show yet, just go on Google and type in be on TV and apply for something, because you do get treated like a celebrity, especially if you're going on like something like that when like the show is kind of like about you. They pay for your food, your hotel, your travel, you have your own like mini chauffeur to get you from place to place. But on the actual day, oh my God, the guy was just, I don't know whether he just didn't like black girls or he just didn't like me. But how can I even describe it? It wasn't as awkward as it looked, because remember, you guys only see 8 minutes. I was with that man for like 2.5 hours. Yeah,
Okay.
so it wasn't that bad, but I just say it was more like me being like drunk and funny. Like I said things like, yeah, your mom's fitter than you, mate. Yeah. You probably seen the tweets. Did you see all the tweets?
I didn't see the series.
Oh my God, the tweets, I went viral. People commented, someone tweeted, she wants to lick his mom out. Hashtag
Wow.
meet the parents. Hashtag she fancies the mom more than she does him. Hashtag meet the parents. To the point where I had to put up a post, back in 2016 to let everyone know that I'm not bisexual, just because I said that his mom was attractive because I can compliment a woman. But yeah, I just don't think I was his cup of tea. And then a couple of weeks after, this is the really exciting part, he started dating my understudy. So I didn't actually know this, but until I turned up on the day at ITV, they had like a backup me.
Oh, okay.
So like in case for any reason I couldn't make it, she would take my place. And she was like the complete opposite of me. She was like 5'1", brunette, like Essex kind of vibe. Yeah, she was beautiful. And then he decided to start dating her. They lasted about 3 months, and then she'd put up a Facebook status saying like he'd robbed her house.
Wow.
It ended in like a fight. And I just thought, you know what?
Bullet dodged.
Everything happens for a reason. Everything.
Watching it back, like, would you have picked a different guy? Like the one in the middle, I don't remember his name.
The blonde one.
I don't know if it was the blonde. The one whose parents kept giving embarrassing stories.
Yeah, I feel like.
Or maybe
small guy. No, I can't remember.
Yes.
I can't remember. It's so bad. So bad.
But like you say, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I definitely would have picked a different guy though.
Yeah.
I would have picked anyone but Daniel. But his parents were like, he's so lovely. He's a lovely
That's the parents' job, right?
True.
Well, Raven, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being open. Thank you for sharing um, such deep parts about your story. Really appreciate it, and really sure that people will gain a lot of insights from that and take a lot from that. So yeah, in closing, where can people find more about you? Share your own socials, and also Raven's Angelz socials as well.
Okay, so you can follow me at Raven Dixon-Biggs and at Raven's Angelz with a Z because someone had stolen it with an S. And you can Google me.
Yeah, Google it. I did that for this show, and there's just pages on pages on pages. Well, that's it. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff, and we will catch you in the next episode. Hey.